Monday, May 10th, and it's a sunny morning, and I just was out, and even though it's 53 degrees, I'm going to be sitting out and seeing how I do, because it is looking lovely. I did do what I said. I did go outside, but then the sun went behind a cloud and it was cold. Good morning. It's Barbara. Thank you for joining me for coffee. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I had a lovely, lovely visit with my family. It was so good to see everybody. My parents looked good. Took them out to the farm, and both my nieces were there, so I got to spend time with my brother and Jenny, my brother John, and Jenny, his wife, and his two daughters, Janine and Ella, and it was so nice. We had such a nice visit. They did a great job on those girls. Those girls are wonderful young women. So charming. So charming. And smart. And, you know, all the things. All the things. But just lovely women. So that was fun, and the parents had a good time, and Buddy jumped right on Daddy's lap right away and was so happy to see them. Buddy is their little dog that they ended up having to leave on the farm with my brother, and so they don't see him very often, but he was really glad to see them, and it was fun. It was such a nice visit. Unfortunately, it was 38 degrees and pouring rain the whole time. Well, not the whole ride. Half the ride up there, the whole time I was there, and almost the entire ride home, it was raining. So, and 38 degrees. Just like, so there was no, you know, lounging around on the patio, enjoying the view kind of thing going on. We were enjoying the view through the window. But it was a really, really nice visit. I'm so glad we went. Mama loved her card. She said it should be framed. And she reminded me that her father painted. And she has 2 of his paintings. They're still at the farm. And and he was a painter. So maybe you know, maybe it's in my genes. When Christy got her bachelor's degree, when she graduated from college, all those many years ago, the first time, my parents gave her a trip to Norway for her graduation present, and I had never been to Norway, so I tagged along. So the 4 of us all went to Norway. My mother is first generation Norwegian American, and she has lots and lots of family. Most of her family is still in Norway, although lots of them are long gone, but she had lots of cousins and stuff that she had started corresponding with in the early 70s, I think, and had visited them several times. My dad, you know, both of them went several times. My mom went by herself a couple times. And anyway, so we went, and we stayed with family the whole time. And I think I've told you some stories from this trip, because it was an amazing trip. And we were there for 2 weeks, and we spent one night in a hotel, and we ate dinner one night in a restaurant. The whole other time, we were with both sides of my mother's family, her mother's side of the family and her father's side of the family. Well, the reason I'm telling you any of this is because we went to the Storust farm, and my mother was a Storust, and so her father grew up on this farm, and when we were there in the 2000, something like that, like around 2000, the year 2000. And her cousin was living on the farm, farming the farm. And her uncle, her only living uncle at the time, Uncle Gunnar, was living there too, because had been his farm. Gunnar was not the oldest son, but I'm sure he wasn't, but he ended up inheriting the farm and my grandfather emigrated to America. But anyway, the point of the story is, on the property, in Norway, it's very different than the United States. In the United States, you have a building, for 20 years, and you're like, oh, I need a new building, and you tear down the building, and you put up a new building. That's not how it works on the Storrooster farm, let me tell you. I think every building they ever built is still on that farm, and for the most part, in use, which is a much more reasonable way to live. But anyway, so the old house was still on the farm and still maintained. They had put a new roof on it not that long ago. The old house had been built in something like 1620. Now, they no longer lived in that house. My grandfather grew up in that house, but the new house was built in the 1930s. By then, he was already emigrated to the United States. So the family lived in the new house, but the old house was still there. And so they took us through the old house, built in 1620. And upstairs in the old house, the second floor, several of the rooms and the hallway were all painted with murals on the wall. And Mama's cousin said, your father painted these. So my grandfather, when he was a young man and painted the walls, put, murals and paintings on the walls of this house that was built in 1620. And I'm thinking about, how we are in the United States. You can't even change, if something is old, you can't even change the color of the woodwork. You can't, it's got to be preserved exactly the way it was. And you can't, it's like this different kind of mindset. I've got to preserve the past, like it, or whatever, because it's so short for us, possibly. But anyway, just the thought of a 400-year-old house and they're just letting their kid paint on the wall. Good, Michael. Have at it. It just blew my mind a little bit. But it was really cool to see my grandfather's paintings on the wall of this ancient house. But I was thinking, they would, are you kidding? You wouldn't, like in the United States, you have to preserve it in its original, whatever. If we had anything 400 years old, which we don't. I don't think. Probably nothing much. We don't have much that's 400 years old, let me tell you. So anyway, my mom reminded me that my grandfather was a painter. Me too, I'm a painter. Anyway, it was a lovely visit. And even though it rained, the ride to and there went not so bad. I listened to podcasts and and on the way home, I talked to Jason for my Mother's Day call. That worked out great. It never occurred to me to just get on the phone while I'm driving. I can do it hands-free, no problem. So anyway, I had a nice conversation with Jason. And when I got home, I had a Mother's Day card from my granddaughters. We hadn't gone to the mail on Saturday. So I have to text him and say, I did get my card. He didn't ask me if I got my card. He asked me if my mother got hers, but I didn't know the answer to that. I love Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day, Nana, on the front. And a beautiful, beautiful card. So anyway, that was fun. And it was nice to talk to Jason because I'm a terrible mother and hardly ever call him. Or it tells of her sister-in-law who called each of her 3 children every day. I'm like, oh my God, I'm like apparently the worst mother ever. If I talk to both my kids, well, I talk to Christy almost every Sunday because of our Zoom call, but otherwise, once a month. I guess I have a low necessity for information. I don't need to know. You know, I'm assuming I'll find out anything big. Although, you know, I'm late to hear a lot of things because of that, so it's my own fault. But anyway, Chrissy and I did not do our crafting night last night. I was tired when I got home. Although I did actually knit a little bit when I got home, and I have put in a few rows of my idea for my fuchsia, my Mobius cowl. And I can't tell if it's working or not. I need a couple more rows to see if I'm gonna like the way it looks. Because I'll take it out if it doesn't, even though they're 199 stitches. Because again, I'm doing a spiraling design. So I have an odd number of stitches. We'll see how it looks. Give it a few more rows. And I probably will just keep going anyway because it's a cowl. It's going to be scrunched. Nobody's going to know. But I want to, you know, I have a vision in my mind and I'll be curious to see if it comes out. I did take out my stitch dictionaries. I have 2 Barbara Walker dictionaries, but they're designed to be knit flat. So I wasn't sure, you know, I suppose you can... Well, anyway, I didn't have the brain power to think about, does that just work in the round, you know, purl back everything. And then I'm like, well, that just means the next row is knit, right? Yeah, anyway. And she doesn't have any pictures of the backs of any of these designs. So, anyway, it got me thinking. It was enough to get me thinking, and I came up with my own design. So we shall see. I do have the Japanese, you know, stitching book somewhere, but I didn't see that one. Anyway, so I did a little knitting. And then I went to bed earlier than usual, and I slept really well, so I feel good this morning. I was very excited about being outside, and then the sun went behind a cloud, and it's too chilly. But it's going to be an okay day. My rhododendrons are starting to bloom on the top. And I have an iris so close. It was so close yesterday. In fact, if I had gone out this morning, I might have been able to show you an iris. But I might have one ready to pick, you know, just ready to open, that would open in the house. Because I will be picking my irises. And so that's fun. I don't know what I'm doing today. I did talk to Dennis about we do need to start organizing for our taxes. So I might put in a little time on that, which won't make me happy. And then maybe I'll paint or work on my cowl or whatever I feel like doing. But I don't think I'm going to go out and about other than walk the dogs. Oh, and Jenny took a picture of all of us. And then here is everybody again. I took a picture with her in the picture. So that's my family. Part of them. Part of the family. All of them are family. But they're not all the family. You know what I meant. I'm going to say goodbye. I will see you tomorrow. Well, I'll talk to you tomorrow anyway. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Please take good care of yourselves. Stay safe and stay sane.